On this episode of Punks Talk Wrestling, we see the hilarious return of R-Truth. We almost get a Money in the Bank cash-in before the long-awaited return of the Viper, Randy Orton. And just as we thought that's all, folks, hell literally freezes over as we give you our review of 2023's Survivor Series War Games. I am R.W. Hellborn, one half of your Punks Talk Wrestling tag team hosts, hailing quote-unquote from Philly! And always by my virtual side, 3,500 miles away in London, England, he is my tag team podcast partner, the coriander to my oregano, the proper prick, CJ Newman!
Oh man, this intro just gets better and better every week. Did you know that Survivor Series 1993 marked the first and only time in WWE history that a non-WWE championship title or owned championship title, so I'm not counting the ECW championship or the WCW championship, like an actual championship belt that wasn't affiliated with the WWE whatsoever, was defended at Survivor Series 1993.
Oh shit, was that the Jeff Jarrett with the TNA title? Or the NWA championship?
Nuh-uh.
No?
No. It was the Rock and Roll Express versus the Heavenly Bodies, and it was for the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Tag Team Championships.
Holy shit.
It was the only time in history that a championship was defended. Now, I think there's maybe a few championships may have appeared on WWE television, but they never were defended.
Okay,
and the WCW title was defended on Raw, but it was owned by the WWE at that point.
At that point. And I do remember there was a point in time, well, when Ric Flair first came to the WWE, in his promos, he had the big gold belt with him still. And there was a moment, I believe it was Jeff Jarrett. That was my first thought, was it was Jeff Jarrett with the NWA world title or something of that nature. I'll need to look that up because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We are, and funny enough, it's, weirdly enough, we haven't been getting any criticism from anyone calling out any mistakes lately. So we must not have been making any mistakes.
That means we're not making any mistakes.
That means we are once again continuing on our perfect track record of everything we say is right unless we're wrong, and then it's still right anyway.
Yeah, because I don't care enough.
We're not. Yeah, that's right. We may not be. We may not be right, but we're never wrong.
That's. But yeah, that would be the only time that's ever happened, and it seems like Jim Cornette just struck some kind of deal with Vince McMahon at the time, and there we are. And it was the once and very only time that it's ever happened in history.
Welcome to the wonderful world of Punks Talk Wrestling, where we are punks and we talk about wrestling.
Yeah. I guess that's our slogan.
What are we going to talk? What are we talking about today?
We're talking about We're talking about Survivor Series 2023.
Yeah.
Survivor Series War Games. War Games.
Once again, one of our favorite. Yeah, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get into a lot of things that have happened over the past few days.
By golly, have a lot of things happened over the last few days.
Yeah. Like I said in the intro, the biggest thing for me, obviously, is that R-Truth is back.
R-Truth's back. Randy Orton's back.
It's a joke that Triple H literally said right after the after the event.
By the way, yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'll be honest, that's the guy I was most happy to see, because I didn't expect it. I certainly didn't expect to see R-Truth Saturday night.
No matter who you are, what wrestling promotion you might enjoy most, everyone loves R-Truth. If
you don't love R-Truth, then you don't exist to me.
You're probably a bad person. You're probably a
horrible person, and you should never show your face anywhere.
Yeah, because it's R-Truth.
You either love R-Truth or you're not a human being.
That confirmed. Yeah,
confirmed.
Yeah.
Sound off in the comments by just telling us how much you love R-Truth. Post your favorite R-Truth meme. Post your favorite R-Truth memory.
There's many of them.
the only thing I will say this, the only thing that this pay-per-view lacked, and R-Truth saved it, was there was no former and future WWE champion Jinder Mahal.
That's
Shout
right.
out to former future Jinder Mahal, whom we dedicate every episode to. Whether or not we dedicate it on air, just know
it doesn't mean that it isn't. Just let it be known that from now on, whether we say it or not on the episode, every single episode of Punk Talk Wrestling is dedicated to Jinder Mahal.
Forever and always.
Forever and always. And all the last ones, all the last 15 or something.
And anything that we do in our entire life, like everything we do in our entire lives now, I think is just going to be dedicated. Like, my dinner, I'm gonna make dinner with my wife, and I'm gonna dedicate the dinner to Jinder Mahal. When I put on pants in the morning, I'm gonna dedicate putting on my socks and my pants. This belt around my waist is dedicated to Jinder Mahal.
I leave the work every day listening to his music.
I'm wearing my Brassic hoodie again. I didn't mention it last week, but even last week I was wearing my Brassic hoodie. My Brassic hoodie has become my record the Punks Talk Wrestling episode hoodie for winter. Like, so just imagine me in my Brassic hoodie every week when you listen to this podcast. And imagine my pants dedicated to Jinder Mahal. Whether or not I'm wearing pants, you can't tell because this is just an audio podcast.
I can tell. It's in your voice.
You certainly can.
Yeah.
When
everything's so much freer and looser.
Yeah.
You're much freer and looser.
Pants, yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a looseness to being pantsless. Speaking of pantsless, shout out to Drew McIntyre on this episode of Monday Night Raw where he lost his kilt and was just basically running around the end of his segment with his leather jacket and just pants on, just like gym shorts. They looked like they looked like just black, long boxer briefs.
Yeah.
But at least we know.
He's not.
At least we.
Yeah.
He's not proper. He's not being proper Scottish when he's on live television.
Thank God.
All of the female audience members are probably disappointed.
But I'm
actually, I'm probably half of the male audience. A lot of the male audience is. I won't say half, but
there's a chance.
If there was ever a superstar to have a wardrobe malfunction, and we saw the Scottish Twig and Berries.
The Loch Ness Monster.
The Loch Ness, the Scottish sword unsheathed. It would certainly be Drew McIntyre. Just I know that there's other podcasts there's other podcasts. One of our favorite podcasts, the Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, which we love. Shout out to Bruce Pritchard. I know they've had a long-standing joke about Batista's dick, but I think this podcast, the only dick we're going to talk about is
Drew McIntyre's.
Is Drew McIntyre's or ourselves.
Yeah.
So, I accidentally started the intro again. I didn't mean to do that.
But I can't get over the Scottish sword unsheathed. That's a good one. I'm definitely putting in the bio for this episode that we talk about Drew McIntyre's dick. Anyway.
What's that?
That's do you guys have Tango out in America?
No, I don't think we have a Tango.
So this is Orange Tango. It's like they do a few flavors, orange and apple being the main two, but
okay.
I've got an Orange Tango. I believe. Hold on.
What is it a like a carbonated soda or
it
is
is.
it
It's
like
like
a fruit drink?
It's like a fizzy drink.
Okay. Fizzy drink.
That's what we call them out here, fizzy drinks.
I know. It's just funny because that's.
Oh yeah, you guys call them sodas, right?
Yeah. They're called soda, or in the South, they call it pop.
Pop. We call it pop. Well, we do call it pop. That's more of I'd say more of a northern thing.
Okay. So it's southern. Yeah, pop is southern for us.
Right. Well,
speaking of pop, hold on a second. You know what that sound is?
I didn't even hear a sound.
Oh, you didn't? Hold on, let me try it again. Let me get it closer to the microphone.
Oh, hello. What was that?
There you go. That is my Icebreakers Ice Cube Cinnamon Gum.
I should have guessed.
Yes.
You came prepared this week.
I came prepared. I put the gum on my desk last night to make sure that I did not forget it. I did not want to risk.
I've kind of got used to you having to run around the house for 5 minutes trying to look for it.
Yeah. Yeah, not today. Not today, buddy. There's too much at stake. We don't have time to waste.
There's so much to fucking talk about. There's so many things I want to know your opinion of, and I'm dying to fucking hear them.
And I'm dying to get it all out. I've got my gum, I've got my coffee, and I've got my water, and I've got you.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
right
all we
here.
Need. That's all I need.
All right, so let's get right into it. Survivor Series 2023, November 25th. From Rosemont, Illinois, All-State Arena, a very famous arena for wrestling, in fact.
Yes.
In fact, this was the third Survivor Series to ever be held from words.
From this arena, from the All-State Arena, yes.
Yep, and something I literally just found out right now, this is insane.
Okay.
Next week's episode is going to be a review of Judgment Day 1998.
Yes, we determined that last week.
That's right.
Yes, for listeners that tuned in last week.
Guess what arena that was held in?
Dice. The Rosemont Arena.
The All-State Arena in Rosemont, Illinois.
The Rosemont. Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Our dice are just
keep so giving.
Yeah. And when you look at that card, I don't know if you've started. That
I haven't
one
started.
yet.
Yeah, I was going to, and I haven't started yet though.
I did, and it's gonna be a bumpy. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. I mean, we're gonna get into some prime Attitude Era.
Oh yeah.
Some really good shit. But once again, a pay-per-view that was I guess critically underwhelming according to
I have read the Wikipedia page. It's one thing I did do is read the Wikipedia page.
Yes. So. Shout out to Wikipedia. I did just make my donation to Wikipedia this morning.
Good man.
So once again, shout out to Wikipedia. Support Wikipedia. They are excellent. We really wouldn't know half of the shit we know or can talk about without Wikipedia. So this Punks Talk Wrestling podcast is sponsoring Wikipedia. We are officially sponsoring Wikipedia, and we suggest that any listeners go and give Wikipedia a couple bucks, help them stay in business and stay an awesome site for free information on everything. They're literally everything in the world. So there's that. We've got a
Survivor Series. Yeah, so Survivor Series 1989, 2019, and 2023 all being held from the All-State Arena. We had a huge attendance of 17,138. Obviously went for the smaller sized Titantron again, so they could fit more people in, for sure.
Yes. What's now? I don't know what the max capacity, because obviously whenever WWE or wrestling, they have to limit some of the seats in an arena because the Titantron and stuff, you can't sit behind that.
Yeah. So by the looks of things, it says, I mean, for a basketball game, it's 17,500. For a concert, it can be 18,000 to 22,000. I guess that depends on the size of the stage, where the stage is.
Yeah, and
how obviously
put on the floor.
Yeah, you with the concerts, you can just pack people in standing, so it's different. So right. with it's basically they got just about the same amount as what a basketball game would. So
okay, so we can
it's safely, a sellout. It's a sellout.
That was a capacity crowd, unlike some crowds that claim capacity but are far from it.
Yeah.
And 17,138 is a very specific number.
Oh yeah, that's a counted number for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got Michael Cole and Corey Graves returning. Corey Graves returning to commentary.
Just becoming a dad.
Congratulations to Corey and Carmella on the birth of their first child.
Yeah.
I don't recall what they named it, but I don't really pay attention to other people's children much. So
there you go. There's that.
So I don't know, but I can still congratulate them on
That's
that
right.
because that's great for them.
Yep.
We got Marcelo Rodriguez and Jerry Sato on Spanish commentary, and Mike Rome and Samantha Irvin for the ring announcers.
That's right.
Yeah. With we've got a pre-show panel. We had a pre-show panel of Kayla Braxton, Jackie Redmond, Peter Rosenberg, Booker T, and Wade Barrett, which I didn't watch. I didn't watch the pre.
Yeah, I did watch the pre-show.
I had the pre-show on, but most of the pre-show, there was no pre-show match this.
No, they rarely do pre-show matches these days, which I kind of like. I kind of like that no one's really relegated to a pre-show anymore, which is quite nice.
Yeah. I feel like that's the better. I feel like that's the better play there. It's really just getting people. Now I don't know. Is there, WWE used to have their pre-shows somewhere for free, and I don't know if that just.
They still do. I think they still put them on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
You can watch them on YouTube. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
We've got referees: Jason Ayers, Jessica Cara, Daphne LaShawn, Eddie Ortega, Charles Robinson, Ryan Tran, and Rod Zapata for tonight's matches. A lot of referees. It was a lot of referees when you think there was only 5 matches, but then you realize there were 2 referees.
They surround the War Games cage, don't they? There's one on each side.
There's
one at the door.
There's one. Yes, that's true. And I didn't think about the referee at the door either. So yeah, there were two in the ring, one in each of the rings.
Yeah.
For the War Games, and then one at the door. Yeah.
So, first match is the Damage Control, which was Bayley, Asuka, Io Sky, and Kairi Sane versus Belair, Flair, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch.
Oh, yeah, we did find out during the kickoff pre-show that it was Bianca's. It was the face team that won the Ruffles sponsored fan.
Oh yeah, because this match was sponsored by Ruffles.
Yeah, yes, Ruffles was a big sponsorship of Survivor Series this year. So good for them.
Yeah,
Ruffles. We had and funny enough, without even knowing that, we had some Ruffles potato chips in our watch party.
Well, look at that.
Just so
happened to have them. Did you have any Slim Jims to hand either as well?
No, I totally forgot to get Slim Jims, and
then you would have been totally prepared with all the correct sponsors of this pay-per-view.
No, but we did get our traditional Domino's fiery Hawaiian pizza.
Hell yeah!
As so shout out to us again sponsoring Domino's, free sponsorship for all of these companies that don't know we exist yet.
This first match was great. I mean, they got just the same amount,
really was
near enough the same amount of time as the men's War Games. Literally, like about a minute difference, really.
Yeah, 33. We got a runtime of 33 minutes and 35 seconds, as according to the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
And point of that being, not only did they get the same amount of time, the men's match clocked in at 34 minutes and 50 seconds. So a minute and a little more than a minute less, but there were 2 additional people in the men's match, which means it took an additional 6 minutes.
That's true. Yeah.
For the match to officially start.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really let's talk about that for a second before we get into the match. Let's talk about the rules and the way because we touched on this last week when we talked about War Games, 1993.
Yep, from Full Brawl.
They keep saying that the match doesn't start until all people enter the ring, and I think they just need to stop. They just need to stop using that term because the match obviously starts when the first 2 people are in the ring.
I guess the way they're seeing it is that, like, the way they say the match doesn't officially start is because there's no referee there to officiate a damn thing. It is literally a brawl until a referee turns up.
Yes, there cannot be a pinfall or submission. There cannot be a conclusion to the match until all members are in the ring.
Exactly.
But let's just look at it the same. I mean, look at it the same way the Royal Rumble. the Royal Rumble can't finish until the 30th guy is in the ring, and that match starts when the match starts.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think they just need to stop saying that the match doesn't start until that, because it's not logical.
It's like a bells and whistles thing. It's just it doesn't do anything. It serves no purpose. But it's kind of cool. I mean, I will say this, that when the last person does enter and they the ring announcer just gets to say and let the war games begin, it's cool. It's cool to hear that. Like,
yes, Samantha and Samantha does an amazing
great job, man.
Job of that. She is just, shout out to Samantha Irvin.
She is such a good ring announcer, man. Seriously, like. The way, you know what, it's not just the way she announces, but sometimes it's like she puts cadence on certain people's names. Like, for example, Chelsea Green. She doesn't.
Oh, it's literally just going to say the same thing on Raw the next night. And
yeah, she doesn't just say Chelsea Green. She just says Chelsea Green.
Chelsea.
Like, it's great.
Yes,
it's so good.
She gives them, like, she announces them in their characters.
That's exactly what she does. Like for example, Gunther. She goes Gunther. She does it like the way she puts some meat behind it.
Giovanni Vinci. I love her so much. I love her.
She's so damn good at what she does.
Yeah. Give that woman a raise.
Yeah.
Give her just so much. Give her so much. Give her so many flowers.
Yeah.
Give her all the flowers.
This match was amazing. We got to see the spot with Io Sky again that she did back in NXT, but I don't care because I love the trash can spot from the top of the cage.
I do love that. I do love that spot. It was fantastic to see again. It's fantastic. Yeah, like, she's just insane.
Yeah.
I will say one thing. I was a little disappointed because I was hoping to see a Kyrie insane elbow off the top of the cage.
Oh man, but would have loved that. But I think it's like,
I think that might be too. That might actually break. Would
break her, because she's like, she lands literally on her flat on her side. I don't know how she does an elbow drop like that. I've never seen anything like it.
I don't understand how she, like, I think her bones must be made of rubber.
Right, because anyone else that does an elbow drop, kind of, there's a little bit of feet first, then elbow, right?
Yeah.
But she's like full on, the first thing to hit the floor is her elbow. Like,
yeah,
and then it's all, it's crazy, and she kind of flops her body around as she's like falling through the sky. It's insane.
Yeah, I will. We also, I know it's Io's spot, but it was, for a moment I was hoping that Asuka would do the trash can spot so that we could have dubbed her Asuka the Grouch. That did not happen. In a dream scenario.
That's exactly what that's brilliant.
Yeah. But that entire match, there was once again, there was so much good storytelling.
Yeah.
With the different interpersonal relationships, the troubles between Becky and Charlotte beforehand, and then the straight up hugging it out in the middle of the match. That was real nice.
Yeah, which is the first time they've got along, literally, since the pay-per-view we went to in SummerSlam 2018. That's when they turned, when Becky turned.
5 years.
So it's been a while since they've got along in any capacity. So that's really cool.
And I don't know if you caught them on the
press conference.
Yeah, the post show press conference where they're like, one of the questions were asking, like, oh, well, now that you two seem to be back on the same page, you think we're going to see a tag title run? And they're like, whoa, hold on a second. Yeah. We just started dating again.
Yeah.
Let's not get to they're in the honeymoon friendship phase again.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know if they're going to keep that up. Obviously,
no, I don't. I mean, they're on two different shows as well, which doesn't help. So
that's also true. And I don't know necessarily if this is I don't know how Becky Lynch and Charlotte are outside of wrestling. In character, In character, I like that they're okay with each other right now. That's nice. Like, because there are other people that they both can have problems with.
Yeah.
And I think that Becky and Charlotte need to be on the same page, especially considering what we all seem to see coming with Bayley.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's part. I mean, this really doesn't have to do. Well, it has a little bit to do with the match, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it being teased ever since, especially since Io's return, and with Asuka joining.
Asuka joining and Kairi Sane returning. Yeah, I mean, she's that's probably the big story coming out of this is Bayley, whether or not she's going to be ousted as the leader, kind of like Edge was with Judgment Day.
Yeah. It's, of course they're playing it this way, and of course they're dangling. They've been dangling that in front of us since Crown Jewel.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of ready for it. I think I'm ready for it. I think Bayley did a fantastic job in the creation of damage control, like you said with Judgment Day and them outing Edge, kicking Edge out. I think it's smart. And what does WWE do that I love? They do something great and then they do it again.
Right, exactly.
But this time they're giving it a lot more time to sink in.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting very used to a Triple H style of storytelling, and it's not as rushed. And where a turn would normally happen quite quickly. Well, let's look at the Judgment Day as an example, that they were barely together like 2 months before they turned on Edge.
Yes, that was a fast.
Yeah, but,
and that might
quick turnaround.
That was a fast turn, which in hindsight, I think we both probably agree that was going to happen regardless.
It was going to happen regardless, and it was totally worth it. Apparently, Edge has said that was the ultimate plan, but they decided to just do it. Well, Vince decided, he just turned up at Raw one day and was like, we're doing it like 5 months ahead of schedule. Yeah. So it was, it was out like kind of blindsided, which I loved, because honestly, no one saw it coming at all.
True. That's true. No one saw that, and that is why I think it worked for the first time. It worked that way because no one saw it coming, and I kind of agreed that Edge, that heel Edge, it
wasn't working.
It just wasn't working the way.
I don't think he didn't believe in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He didn't believe
in it. Too difficult. It was just too hard for Edge to be that nefarious.
Yeah. At
that stage of his career.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everybody just wanted to love him, and it just didn't work. And
exactly.
So I think it was the right move. I 100% think it was the right move. And there's, in the long run, look where the Judgment Day is now. But and we're doing the same with the Judgment Day. There's constantly every week, it's like, Damian Priest calling himself the leader, and but then obviously Rhea Ripley doing a lot of things. It would kind of seem that she's the leader, and it's like there's a slight bit of infighting, but then they end up resolving it as well. So, and obviously there was the rift between Finn and Damian for a while, which I love, because it's so cool. Back in the day, I think you would get a rift between two members and it would inevitably end up in them falling out. What's great about this is Priest and Finn have had they had a rift, they sorted it out, and that was 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Yeah. And it hasn't been mentioned since. It was literally a genuine rift between two friends, showing that not all rifts have to end in a fight. It can just be an actual, just like real life. You can just have an argument with a friend or a disagreement. Right. Yeah. And part of and that's what makes it so enthralling to me, is that it is so realistic in that way. Yeah. It's we've all fought with our friends and made up, and without actually having to physically fight them. Yeah.
or like fall out completely where you don't talk to each other. Like it's definitely like, you know, he's, you know, with the way the Triple H writes, it's he definitely lays really into like real life dynamics of relationships between people.
Yeah. And what I think is interesting, the way they're playing. I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
So we'll touch back on that when we get to the Judgment Day match.
Yeah. Yes,
this
right,
match, you know, this match, you know, I want to give it all the props that it deserves.
Yeah. Oh well, I guess we got from this because we were talking about damage control and whether
So back to damage control.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, again? We could go play by play in if we wanted to. But we don't need to.
No, that's if you want to get that from a podcast, this isn't your podcast. We're not a play-by-play podcast.
But there was a couple few spots that I thought were clever.
Oh, Charlotte Flair doing a moonsault from the top of the cage is always notable.
Oh, that's
as well.
all. Yes, yeah. And the Asuka, everybody pulling stuff out from under the ring, and of course, you know, when the crowds have a tendency to go into business for themselves when it comes to stuff like this. You know, everybody was chanting for tables.
Yep.
And,
yes, they were.
And so the best thing that they did was kept going under the ring and not getting tables.
Yeah, it was like the last thing that was brought out, wasn't it?
Until the very last thing. Yeah. Did they even? As crazy as it sounds, I don't even know if they used the table.
It was the end of the match. It was the manhandle slam from the top rope.
Oh, it was a manhandle slam. That was the table.
That was the table.
That was the table that they used. Okay,
yeah.
It wasn't because at one point it was set up in a corner of the ring, and
they moved it. Yeah, they did.
Okay,
move
that
it.
was the same. That was the same table.
Yeah,
I wasn't just having a weird blank like I just did now. Yeah, manhandle slam from the top rope through the table. That was, you know, just great. Just a great all around. Everybody got their spots. Everybody got to shine a little bit.
Yeah, and I think, you know what I love about majority of the PLEs. This is the last. There's also worth noting that this is the very last PLE of 2023. But one thing I've noticed.
There is no. Because there's deadline. NXT deadline.
NXT deadline, but no main roster.
No main roster.
PLE.
Yeah,
but
we'll have to determine if we want to review. We probably are. We're probably going to do that.
But one thing I've noticed as of late is that, you know, every PLE that happens, there's no, and I think this is a universal thing. I think everyone can agree that we aren't getting that vibe anymore where people that are losing matches are feeling like they're less than or they've been buried by any stretch of the imagination. It's like everyone finishes a match where the winner is obviously the winner and that's how they've gotten over, but the person who lost isn't just being crushed and like being put over less than.
Yeah, and we certainly see that. I mean, we certainly see that in the next match.
Well, it's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, but before that, though, we saw the return of R-Truth.
The most anticipated and greatest pop for me.
Same. I freaked out. Yeah, at the time. Yeah, I freaked the fuck out. I did. So good, man. The way he just popped out from behind that sofa was like, I've always been here.
I've just been here the whole time.
The whole time. It's like he never, literally, he's been backstage this whole time.
Yeah. That is a man. Ron Killings is a fucking national treasure.
He's an international treasure.
He is an international.
The whole world should.
He is a universal treasure. Universal, multiversal. I would go so far as saying a multiversal
I don't
treasure.
think he should be signed to any one singular wrestler company. I think he should just be able to turn up wherever he likes.
If that would be the one thing, because
he could declare himself for the Royal Rumble on an episode of AEW Dynamite. You know what I mean?
It would. He's a character that is believable.
Yeah.
It's believable enough in what he has created for the R-Truth
universe
persona that he could legitimately just accidentally show up to the wrong promotions event, and everybody would buy it.
No one would even question it.
Nobody would question it. if WWE let him,
Yeah.
like this is one of those things where let's fantasy book for just a moment. You know, once Triple H buys AEW in the library next year, you know, before it's all said and done, like if there is some way to get R-Truth, not Ron Killings, but actually R-Truth, and if they could allow him to just show up somewhere, and just
it
be
would
like,
be great,
be like,
it would be magical.
Oh, my bad. This isn't Monday night.
Well, you've seen Raw, right? But as you say, you've seen the Hulu version. So did you see the R-Truth segments on Raw?
No. So fuck Hulu for that because they completely cut it out.
There's this. So you saw that Jelly Roll. That's his name, right? Some music.
Yes,
artist.
I saw Jelly Roll, and I saw like something online. I saw a photo. Somebody sent a photo, or a buddy of mine sent me a clip of it. So I saw it happen. So I was looking forward to seeing it, but it didn't happen on Hulu. So fuck the Hulu cut.
So I think Jelly Roll turns up backstage and he's chatting to a whole bunch of people and whatnot. And then R-Truth comes up and Jelly Roll's gone and he's like, I heard that there's like platinum award winning Jelly Rolls around and I want one, basically.
Yeah, is that why he had a plate of pastries in his hand?
Yeah, so you've seen that picture, right?
I saw the picture of it, covered in like powdered sugar.
He's
and
the Judgment Day walk into their clubhouse. By the way, that's the official name because Damian Priest calls it a clubhouse, and I think that's the funniest thing ever.
I love it.
They walk into the Judgment Day clubhouse, and they're all staring at the sofa, and the camera pans around, and R-Truth sprawled out on their couch with a massive tray of jelly rolls, actual jelly rolls, covered in powdered sugar. And
oh my God.
He was in there, and he was like,
I gotta go watch this. I gotta go find this.
He's like,
online.
He was like, you guys look really sad. Like, there's plenty of things to be happy about. You hear Randy Orton's back? And then he was like, and then he says like, well, I heard you guys need a fifth member for your War Games team, and I was going to say maybe I can join. And they're like, War Games was 3 days ago.
Yes. See, I love
it's all the R-Truth things you need. It's you need to see that little segment.
God, I love him so much.
It's just so good. It's just, I don't think it would work with any other guy. It's just, he just pulls it off so well now.
I don't know how we, like, we don't deserve it. We don't, as the human race, with all of the shit, there is a lot of shit going on in the world all the time. And I truly believe that we as humans do not deserve the beauty of R-Truth and what he has given us in forms of entertainment.
He's such an escape from wrestling. He's just an escape. Could you imagine
if they gave R-Truth his own like 24/7 reality channel?
Oh my God!
Where it's just a cameraman, like. It's just a cameraman following R-Truth around, and it's just like, what, you know.
Well, that's what was great about the 24/7 championship at first, is they were doing these little segments on, like, planes and golf courses and stuff.
Yeah, I do miss that. I really do. That was a... And of course, you know, I know it started to get played out a little bit. It probably ran its course.
Yeah, it did. It ran its course, for sure.
It ran its course, but I would certainly not be upset if it ever made a return again.
Yeah. So, if anyone's never seen it, you definitely, if you've got it on the network or on Fuck Peacock, if it's still on there. But when the WWE 24 episodes, you know, remember those? There's an R-Truth one, and it is so good, and it's about his whole life and growing up and his run-in with crime before he got into professional wrestling, and it's really, really interesting. So I recommend that if anyone's never watched that before. It's a bit of a tearjerker, actually. Come to think of it.
It's a real serious story.
Yeah.
Talk about a serious story.
Yeah.
The Intercontinental Championship match
Hell yeah. I love the run-up to
Gunther-
this match as well, by the way. I thought it was
Holy
great.
shit! Yeah, talk about a serious story.
Yeah.
Gunther is the most serious guy on the roster about professional wrestling, and The Miz is
We've got the most professional wrestler and the most sports entertainer.
Yes,
That's what we have. The peak of both those things facing each other.
And that combination, and just the sheer fact that they went in on each other.
Oh yeah,
extremely well. Like
yeah,
it goes to show you how well both of them not only know the business but know themselves.
Yeah,
and know who they are.
I listened to Gunther on the Chris Van Vliet podcast.
I really got to get into those.
I've got really into listening. He has really good guests on there, and he had Gunther on last week. And even in that podcast, he's obviously quite out of normally the guys on there are out of character, guys and girls. But he did ask him about The Miz, and one thing he said something that was like threw shade at him. It was great. He was like, well, Miz represents an era of wrestling in the WWE where I just switched off and I wasn't really watching. Yeah, and it's just like, damn. Like, he represents that period of time where I wasn't watching wrestling anymore.
And he did it so well.
With elegance and like, yeah. He did it both. It wasn't out of character. No, it wasn't. No.
It wasn't technically it was absolutely on. He was being absolutely honest, and I'm sure that's probably true.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's actually true, but I think he just, while he was saying it, is like, I can easily use this and play it into my story.
And that's what's so good about it is they really, really were able to take really real things.
Yeah.
That aren't just oh, I don't like you and I want your title, or I just think you're annoying, blah blah blah. They went so well. It was written, it was produced, it was delivered so professionally and so well.
Yeah.
That it makes everything they've done up until then matter. Like And then once again, you've got The Miz, who by all accounts he doesn't wrestle that much.
Not anymore, but he when he does wrestle it counts,
Yeah, and every time he does, you're like, oh yeah, this guy is so good at what he does. He certainly hasn't missed a second, doesn't miss a step, and Gunther put him over. The Miz put over Gunther as much as Gunther put The Miz over in that match.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal. The ending of the match was it seemed a little out of nowhere.
Yeah, I get that. I see what you mean, yeah.
And I don't know if that was because maybe they were running long or whatever, because that match had a lot of pacing. That match was up and down. There, a few fast moves and then stop, and then stop and slow it down.
Yeah.
Couple moves, stop and slow it down.
Yeah.
Really, really good pacing. So maybe they got a little rushed. I know they kind of I saw some comments.
They might have been told to like wrap it up. They probably had some slotted time.
Obviously the lion Gunther changing the Boston Crab into a lion tamer was a nod to Chris Jericho. Without a doubt, because
and it's great as well. Like, I've also noticed, I mean, I keep bringing this up every week, but for some reason in the last month or so, I've keep noticing these distinct differences between Triple H running the ship and Vince. But Chris Jericho is obviously a big player in the competition, or however you perceive them. But even though he's in another company, during Gunther's entrance, they say that Chris Jericho is, he's held the title more than anyone else at 9 times.
And those types of things, they don't purposely ignore them.
Exactly. They also said, listed a bunch of great former Intercontinental champions, and Edge was one of them. They don't ignore that. They just say it, and it's great. Yeah. It's like, why ignore it? It's a thing. It's true, and it
doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt them in any way by referencing the performers who have held the title. They don't say anything about AEW or the other companies that they're working in. They're just stating facts, and as long as you're stating factual information, you can't go wrong with that. And facts that matter is this was a fantastic match. It's certainly hard to pick a favorite match out of this. Yeah. Out of this pay-per-view. I mean, there was only 5 matches, so there's not a lot of competition. Now, I can definitely tell you what my least favorite match was.
And that was the next one, I take it.
That was the next one, yeah. Gunther obviously retained his IC title, which I think was the right thing.
Totally the right call, and we're sitting on, I don't even know how many days now, but 500 and something.
But holy hell, there was a moment there where we really thought the Miz was going to get it. I mean,
I actually did. I actually bought it for a second there.
Yeah, when he pulled the low blow into the
skull crushing finale.
The skull crushing finale, yeah.
But that's the thing. You can tell with two brilliant workers, right? Because I, as a guy who's watching wrestling, much like yourself, you go into a match like this and without a doubt, Gunther's winning, right? You're just like, of course he is, right?
Yeah.
But I love it
midway through the match.
I love it when you watch matches like that where you know who's going to win, basically, and then you still get caught kind of jumping out your seat for just a split second there, like, what? Hold on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they did that to me in that match, and I love that. I absolutely love that. I sat forward in my seat, and I was like, no fucking way. Are they actually going to pull this? And then I was like, you fuckers got me. Like, you knew what you were doing.
And it would have been a totally believable way for Miz to have pulled it out.
Yeah, by cheating, basically. I love this, by the way. Miz has been a face before, but I love this version of him as a face. He hasn't changed his character. He's still the same person. But I think we spoke about this, but he's the people's douchebag now.
He's not really. That's the other thing. That's kind of weird because he's not really a face. Funny enough, I was just listening to. I was catching up on some of the old Bruce Pritchard podcasts. Shout out to Bruce Pritchard, the Something to Wrestle podcast, and they were talking about a similar thing, that they had the problem. One of the problems with Stone Cold when he was a heel was that he was still getting cheered, so he was still doing heel things, but he was just doing them to worse heels.
Exactly.
And the Miz is really, really in that spot too. Yeah. He's not really a face because he's not doing anything that. He's not doing babyface stuff. He's still doing heel shit.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just less of a heel than, he's almost more. If we want to D&D, if we want to D&D-ify the alignment, he's sort of in that neutral, a little bit more neutral territory.
Yeah, he is.
To where
he is.
He really cares. It's still the Miz still only cares about the Miz.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And that's a heel thing to, and that's inevitably still a heel thing to be.
Yeah,
he's still kind of a prick, but there are so much bigger pricks than him. He's getting into it with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, which I think is great because those guys are learning how to be a dick from like the
who better
dicks
to learn from.
Yeah,
he's turning into that Rowdy Roddy Piper role.
Yeah.
Right? He's kind of becoming the modern day version of that. And that's
a great place.
That's not a bad thing to be compared to.
There is not at all.
Yeah.
Also the only title that Rowdy Piper had a tag run, I think, but yeah, that was his pinnacle of championship.
Yeah, exactly. Intercontinental. Yeah, exactly.
Title.
Yeah.
12 minutes and 20 seconds of outstanding Intercontinental Championship defense by Gunther. No Imperium.
No Imperium at all, yeah.
No nothing. No.
In fact, he never really... honestly, Gunther always wins just on his own back, to be honest, most of the time.
Yes, he really hasn't... Yeah, even when the other Imperium members were around ringside, they really rarely had any type of shenanigans because that's against Gunther's... it's basically against Gunther's
the ring is
whole
sacred.
Thing. Yeah, the ring is sacred. I love it. That's a dude that, like I said, he knows exactly who he is.
Yeah.
And how to be. He knows exactly how to be Gunther, the Ring General.
Exactly.
And still your WWE Intercontinental Champion. Next up was a match that should have just stayed on SmackDown. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
it could have been in SmackDown. I actually probably would have preferred Escobar versus Carlito, to be honest. I think Carlito on having a PLE match for the first time in, 15 years likely, would have been a really good touch.
I think the people would have cared more.
I think the people would have cared more. Not to say Dragon Lee, like people, he was getting a chant during the match, but I think he's getting over. But I just think it's a little too soon for him to have a match like this. You know?
It's a good match. I mean, the match was great between the two of them. It was a great match. For what it was. But the build up to him jumping in from SmackDown because
very rushed.
Santos, it didn't feel like it felt like they weren't giving this the whatever the storyline is going towards. They just weren't really giving it what it needed for me to care about what was going on. Like, already know Santos has turned heel. Like, the only thing that we want to see is Santos versus Rey. Like, obviously that's where we're going. That's where we're heading.
Yeah. And obviously with Rey being injured, we have to wait to get there. Maybe by WrestleMania we'll get that.
Yeah, and maybe the problem is Rey was legitimately injured.
It seems that way, yeah.
And so they had to kind of rush into this, and they're sort of, it was good that they got a PLE payout. Good that they got some. Yeah, and
I mean, like the Dragon Lee stuff being quite quick and forced, I think that the whole LWO kind of civil war has actually been really good, and I think executed really well. Escobar saying stuff like, "I hope the surgery goes badly and you catch an infection," like that is, and your leg gets amputated. Like that's such awful heel things to say.
Yeah, but here's the other thing that I guess is problematic for me. Is with my 90-minute Hulu cut, I'm missing some of this because I didn't see all of this, so I'm missing a lot of this lead up, and maybe there are things that I'm just not seeing.
This is definitely of things if they're gonna cut anything, they're gonna cut these like B tier storylines, and not to discredit them, but obviously it's not main event, it's not a championship situation, it's just a general like grudge match, I guess. And if they're gonna cut anything, it's gonna be that stuff, I guess, right?
Yeah, or it would have maybe what would have made it a little more impactful is if Santos had jumped Carlito right before the event, so it was and then they had Dragon, and then it was like a surprise.
Yeah.
But giving it to us on SmackDown, it kind of, I don't know, it just made me think, well, like, all right, well now I don't want to see this. I don't really care about this match. And it was the least likely match. I don't know. There could have been.
I believe these guys, given more time, could have a great match. Like, I just don't think it was enough time. I don't think there was enough lead up. I don't think people were invested. Really what it is. It was just
more time.
Wrong place, wrong
time. To bake it.
Exactly. So I think in another go around, maybe it would be better. But this time, it just didn't quite hit the mark for me anyway. Next. You have one more point?
Oh yeah. No. What was there? I don't remember if there wasn't a segment between that.
I think there was a segment that I can't remember. I didn't actually make a note of where they were, but there were a few segments in the night of basically Team Cody questioning as to whether or not Randy's going to turn up or not, because by this point he hadn't turned up at all.
Right. Yeah, there was a little bit of that, and and Jay being like, "Why would he show up?"
I absolutely loved the end of Raw the other week where Cody revealed. Randy, and the look on Jay's face was of like guilt and like that was executed so well. And I feel like, again, I keep bringing these things up at the moment, but it's again one of those things where I feel like that would have been overlooked. All right, it's like, Randy's been out for a year and a half. The fans probably have forgotten at this point how he got taken out, so we'll just skip it.
Yeah, I forgot how
that's
that was
what
it.
I mean.
I forgot
Triple H, Triple H is gonna, if you've forgotten, then Triple H is gonna fucking remind you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that was great.
His facial reaction. That was the coriander moment of Raw.
So good. And honestly, Jey Uso has been the coriander moment of many a moment in the last couple of years. He's been that guy in so many stories. In fact, right now, actually, I think Jey Uso is one of my favorite members of the roster right now. I absolutely love him. I think he's just adds so much to every story. He's got such a dynamic and complicated background from the last 3 years, and with him being in a redemption arc right now, it's just he's got such a good story and then when he eventually meets his brother in the ring, it's going to get even better as well. So it's just so good.
And I want to jump. I think I want to jump to Raw real quick because we saw those segments specifically with Jay and Randy Orton
backstage
in the background, where Jay was basically like, he gave Orton the whole spiel about the second chance and Cody and everything, and Orton was like, everybody, these people trust you, and that means something to me. And he's like, and he said the best thing, as long as you're out of the bloodline, pause.
Yeah,
we're good.
Yeah.
And that was like, and the quick pause and the quick, it was just enough of a pause where you have to think for a second. I'm like, I mean, he does say this whole thing. He's been saying this whole time. He said he's out of the bloodline. But next week, we are getting Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
And I mean, just the interwovenness of that storyline is insane. I am 100% ready for this. I am 100% down for main event Jey Uso to win the title from Seth Rollins next week. I think that would be
with the debut that we get at the end of this pay-per-view, which I'm not going to mention yet until we get to it, but it's certainly a possibility because Seth might be very preoccupied for a few months.
Well, there's a certain number of things going on.
Yeah.
That one because that's the best, because that is the best track. That's the best way to get Jay versus Drew.
Yeah.
For the world title.
Yeah.
That I want to see. I want to see that. I want Drew to get his. He wants to get revenge on the bloodline. He wants to get his revenge on Jey Uso and all this stuff. And I think that's a perfect way to either swerve, either one, get heel McIntyre in the title role, so he still doesn't get his adulation, he still doesn't get his praise. He gets his title win in front of the crowd, but he's gonna get booed.
Yeah,
he's gonna get mega heat for it if he takes the title off Jey Uso, more so than if he beat Seth Rollins for it.
Yeah, exactly.
But if we do get a betrayal, if we do get a Jey Uso's really been bloodline all this time, and the whole thing is we sent main event Jey Uso over to Raw and undermine Raw from within, how great of a storyline would that be?
I didn't even thought of that, and that's just beautiful to think about.
Yeah.
The good thing is there was a few things. The beautiful thing is that I don't know where any of this is going, and that's such a good feeling because a lot of the times you can quite predict where things are going. The other beautiful thing is there are, we'll get to the main event. I'll say this real quick, and then we'll get to the women's match, and then we'll get to the main event. But there are so many storylines that have crossover right now. I've lost count how many storylines there are that are crossing over, but we'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's get to Rhea Ripley and Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark,
Also,
who we both said was like she definitely impressed both of us at the Crown Jewel last month.
I will. Yeah, and I will say that I made a note of this too because the crowd was very much Rhea Ripley crowd. They were
big time.
They were cheering. They were literally booing Zoe Stark at the beginning of the match anytime she had offense. But about midway through the match, or about a third of the way into the match, I'll say, they stopped booing her, and they were just oohing her.
Yeah,
like,
I get you.
Like,
I get
like all the moves she was doing. She's
got a great moveset.
That twisting senton thing
from
that
like
she did,
the second rope, but from the outside, kind
outside
of
the second rope. Like I watched that a dozen times, and I still don't know how her body moves that
It's mad.
way.
I know. It's great.
The
It's
same
a great
thing.
move.
The same thing with that weird reversal from the choke slam off the turnbuckles.
Yeah.
Which sort of looked a little weird, but it's like she completely twisted her body around and kind of rolled through it.
Yeah.
So it was okay that she didn't. It almost looked like she no-sold it, but she didn't no-sell it. She kind of weirdly reversed it. And to that point, I want to call another thing out, because I saw some criticism online from people who don't know what they're talking about, which is a lot of. I'll tell you this. I'll get into this. I want to say something because you might have seen some of it. I get really heated on certain Mark's comments that you can tell are just like you're watching a completely different thing than I'm watching.
Right.
If that's what
or
you're
choosing to watch something.
You're
different.
you're choosing to criticize something
exactly
because you don't fucking. There were people complaining about her suplex the reversal,
right,
where she caught her and like, oh, that was a lot of work. That was a whole lot of work for just a suplex. I'm like, motherfucker, that was a double reversal.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
exactly. Yeah.
Zoe reversed the first move.
Yeah.
And then Rhea caught her and powered her up and what else were you gonna do? Like, sure, you could have done anything else. You could have done a number of other things there, but it wasn't about that. It was about the reversal.
Yeah, exactly.
There were so many good reversals. Those two work together so well.
They do. They are very similar styles, but also very different move sets.
Rhea put her over again. Rhea put over Zoe as a viable contender.
Yeah.
That was another match where it's like, well, shit, like, it's believable. It is believable that Zoe could have beat Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
100%. When she locked in and hit that kind of snap German suplex.
Yeah.
And you saw Rhea sold that so well. Her eyes bugged out like an anime character.
Yeah, she's been
when
really
she
good at doing
realized,
sells like that lately, actually.
Yeah, I'm again, Rhea Ripley is at the top. She is probably one of the greatest performers on any roster anywhere in the world right now, because she has everything. She has it all.
Yeah.
She has the look. She has the style. She has moves. She has move sets that she can pull out all sorts of things. Power moves, top rope maneuvers from the ropes. Every kind of everything.
Yeah.
And her reactions, her timing is impeccable. She's the only wrestler, not Samoan, that makes a headbutt that makes you believe headbutts are believable, except for Drew.
Except for Drew, who pretty much just does it for real.
I mean, Drew hitting Seth on Raw and opening himself up the hard way.
Yeah. I think he even shocked himself. He kind of put his hand up. Was like, oh, well, okay.
He's like, shit, wait, is that mine or his?
Yeah.
I also love the fact that he didn't even attempt to clean it up.
No, he just
when he was talking to Sami Zayn backstage.
He was
also
still
balls on The balls on Sami Zayn
God,
for coming up to Drew after that. Like, they were just in a match where they were beating the shit out of each other a few days ago.
That's right.
And the balls of him to come up, but, that was great. That whole play, once again, written so well when he's like, yeah, I'm going to work myself up from the bottom.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go make a match for next week against you. And it was just like, oh. That's going to be a great match. So kudos to Zoe Stark once again. They're going to put the title. They're definitely going to put
at some
the title
point
on her.
She'll have the title on her, and she mean, she just needs a bit more work and a bit more time, and she'll get there for sure.
And it's possible. I wouldn't even be mad. I wouldn't even be mad if they give her some time and they give her time on the main roster and she goes down to NXT and gets the NXT women's title that she never won.
Yeah.
Because she certainly deserves it.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure she deserves to be champion. And I don't say that often. I really don't. There are a few people where I will say deserve it. And Zoe Stark definitely deserves it.
I would say so. Yeah, you're right. I guess onto the most newsworthy match for quite some time.
Before we get to that, I will shout out to referee Daphne LaShawn for the quick notice and picking up of Rhea's ear tunnel that she lost during the match.
Scouted. I didn't even see that. Yeah,
it was during a different suplex. I think it was a German suplex that Rhea gave to Zoe from the corner of the ring,
right?
And her tunnel popped out of her ear when she hit the mat, and kind of did a little roll around the ring. And as soon as she kicked out of the pin, Daphne ran around and grabbed it to get it out of the ring and put it in her pocket. So I didn't know that. Refs have a little like third pocket on the side of their pants that
really?
I didn't even tell. Yeah, it was like the. I don't know if you've ever seen that third pocket that Dickies pants have.
Yeah.
They have a little pocket in there. So cool.
Wow.
I mean, maybe it was just her pants.
Maybe it's just hers, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if all refs have that, but Daphne's pants have a little third pocket. So shout out to referees' pockets.
To the main event.
Yeah, Cody Rhodes, Seth freaking Rollins, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and a returning Randy Orton.
Eventually.
Against the Judgment Day. Well, yes, we didn't know that. I mean, for the entire time, and I certainly thought it would have been believable if he didn't show up. And then
because that could have then led to Cody versus Randy.
There could have been a whole lot of things. Yeah. But apparently Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton are lifelong friends, or my good. He referred to them as my good lifelong friend or something like that, and I'm like, really? No, Randy Orton.
I wouldn't say lifelong, but he obviously with legacy, right?
I mean, they were in Legacy together, which was.
I think that's more what they're referring to is the fact that, I mean, obviously there's that, and like Cody has always said that coming up in the business that Randy has always been a mentor to him.
That's true.
And he's learned a lot from Cody.
It was just interesting. It was interesting hearing him say it.
Yeah.
That way, because it was very babyface of him. I mean, they're very much pushing him as babyface Orton right now, and that's weird. It's always weird. So it'll be interesting to see who and when he when the true Viper comes back.
Yeah, out. I guess it's like whether or not here, going to Raw real quick. It looks, obviously we're going to get Shinsuke versus Randy. I don't think that's going to lead to a Royal Rumble match because it seems like Randy's in the Royal Rumble.
Well, before we get Shinsuke and we're getting Shinsuke versus Cody Rhodes.
Oh, that's what obviously. What did I just say? Sorry.
Oh, you said Shinsuke versus Rollins. I thought.
Oh shoot, sorry. Shinsuke versus Cody is what we're going to be getting next. But
Yeah.
I think maybe for sure, like, we could lead to, if Cody Rhodes is not facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, then it will be The Rock versus Roman, and then then I reckon we'd be getting Cody versus Orton at WrestleMania. I think it would be so shocking and surprising to me if they don't go that route. Yeah.
Roman versus Rock at Mania. I mean, what else are we going to do with him right now? It makes the most sense for all reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do we want to say about the match itself? I mean, it was, you saw a little bit of infighting. You saw a few moments. You saw a moment with Orton and Usa and Jay where he was like, it looked like he was about to RKO Jey Uso for a second, and then
Jay saved him from
from Damian.
So I mean, this is what I'm talking about. So let me give me a second here to just break this down for you. This is what I mean.
Break it down.
So we've got. Let's look at this. We've got Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins at each other's throats. We've got Jey Uso and Sami Zayn's dynamic. Well,
yeah.
Right? We've got Randy Orton and Jey Uso's dynamic. We've got Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes' dynamic. We've got the Judgment Day generally against everyone, but then we've got Damian Priest's dynamic with the rest of the team being the leader.
Yeah, we've got Drew
McIntyre's dynamic with Seth Rollins and Jey Uso and Randy Orton, because they've got a long storied rivalry going back to the pandemic. And then we got Drew McIntyre's dynamic with the rest of the Judgment Day, because he didn't really want to be in a team with them, but it was just because they had a common enemy.
Right.
I don't know how many storylines I just mentioned there, but that's a shitload of storylines.
Yeah, that was like 7 or 8 at least.
Involved in one match.
Yeah.
Intertwining. And it's been... In fact, no, fuck it. I don't think we've ever been at a stage of wrestling where there's this much going on at one time, where all of them are just... All of these stories are crossing over. And it's not just been for War Games. A lot of these storylines have been crossing over for quite some time now. And you've got guys like Jey Uso, for example, who are involved in like 3 different stories at the same time. So it's so cool to see. It's not like one dimensional anymore. It's like everything's got moving parts to it, and it's so cool to see that. So so I was gonna, I think I was texting you at the time, and I said that my girlfriend, this is the first time she had watched wrestling, and we watched this event, and we watched this, and she did enjoy it, and one thing I would say though is, if you're going to introduce your partner or anyone to wrestling, I actually think you should start with an episode of Raw or SmackDown, because there's a lot of matches, but there's also a lot of talking, and you can kind of get caught up with a storyline in one episode of Raw or SmackDown go like, oh, I get the gist of what's going on here. The commentators are always explaining what's happened the week before and what's happening generally. And I actually realized it for the first time watching it with her, the commentators are always doing that job of like, they're keeping in mind that someone might be watching for the first time all the time.
Oh, yes.
And that's why, some people might criticize WWE's commentary sometimes for that reason. I'm like, no, that's such a good thing. I don't want to be alienated by a show because you're making me feel left out because I'm not cool, because I haven't caught up with this story. I don't know this random wrestler from Japan apparently I should know about, kind of thing.
Yes. That is exactly it. Because I've noticed, and I've noticed myself, I've caught myself thinking that as well. Like, man, they're really like, every week they keep reminding me of the storyline I already know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, right, but that's because I already know it because I'm following it.
Yeah.
This is like... That's exactly
this
it.
This commentary line is not for me. It's for someone else.
It's for someone who may be just tuning in.
Yeah.
Because there are people everywhere who are just tuning into wrestling for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, and this year, especially with all of the things that they've done, like, there are new fans of professional wrestling all the time.
Yeah. We're in a... I keep saying it, and maybe the third week in a row I've said this now, but I strongly believe we are in a new boom of wrestling. I don't know what this era is called, I don't think you know the name of the era until you're out of it.
We're still in this match.
Still in this match, and
34 minutes and 50 seconds of beautiful storytelling.
Beautiful match, great match. Having Randy Orton come out, having Rhea Ripley come out to tease the briefcase, only for Randy Orton then to actually come out. Was a brilliant touch, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't even consider to think that he could cash in the briefcase in the match.
Yeah.
Didn't even think about it.
Don't even know how they would have figured. Yeah. And we don't have to know how. We don't have to know how they would figure it out because they didn't have to figure it out. They just teased it. Yeah. And then obviously we had Randy come out, huge pop, great, so good to see Randy. He looks in amazing shape. He does.
Really good shape. Clearly, like,
his head looks more muscular.
Yeah, everything.
Like
everything
his
just
literal
looks bigger.
jawline and his cheekbone. Like I don't know how you make your face muscles bigger, but like yeah. And that promo with him and Rhea Ripley at the beginning of Raw.
Of Raw, yeah. So good.
Man.
So
also that little dig. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I mean, Seth totally dug into him too. Yeah. Everybody's gonna dig into him.
Yeah.
But Randy's dig when he was like the 3 most dangerous letters, in all of professional wrestling, and I'm like, oh well, somebody else whose move has 3 letters. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. So we can see all this stuff. Yeah, we get the match. The match is won. Cody gets to.
Let's not forget the incredible RKO from the top of the cage.
Yeah,
like,
that was
Randy's timing. Sorry, but Randy's been gone for a year and a half, and the guy just comes into a War Games match and pulls off an insane RKO with impeccable timing. This guy is a freak. It's just how
some people are good, dude, and some people complained about that too. Some people complained that it wasn't that like, I'm like, dude, he was being as safe as he possibly could.
The timing on that was perfect. I'm sorry, man. It looked great.
The timing was perfect. He did. Yeah, Randy might not have gotten up as far as he normally does.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Look at
matter.
the one he did. The one he did on Evan Bourne with the shooting star press.
Yeah,
he practically caught his head like an inch before it hit the floor.
Exactly.
It's fine.
It was perfect. The timing was impeccable. He did it in the safest way possible.
The thing is, I'm more
Excellent.
mesmerized with the fact that he did it after being off for a year and a half.
Yeah.
It's like he hasn't missed a step whatsoever.
I have no idea if they practiced it.
Who knows? But I don't even care. It's just, even with practice, you were still being out for a year and a half.
Yeah.
It's like, by the way, while
give it
Randy
all the
was,
coriander. Give it coriander with some oregano on top.
Just sprinkled all over that bitch.
Yeah.
As Randy was leaving the arena, by the way, on Survivor Series, he gestured to the crowd and said to the crowd, 10 more years. That's what he said.
Yeah.
So it seems like he thinks he has 10 more years in him. So
by the way he looked there, I could totally see it.
Yes, he's only 43. I thought he was older, but he's only 43.
As long as he stays. No, Randy Orton is younger than me.
All right, so I guess we've hit that part.
That's it. That's the pay-per-view. I mean,
that's
the pay-per-view's over though.
That's what we all thought. We had the whole Triple H Classic, which we haven't had in quite some time. We've had the little trademark thing come up in the corner.
Trademark comes up, and that was it. I turned it off. I turned off as soon as the trademark came off. I turned it off. Nothing else happened, right?
Nothing else happened. That was it.
Nothing else was done. So that's it. That's the pay-per-view. Survivor Series 2023.
Yeah, next week we're talking about In Your House Judgment Day 1998.
Yeah, I mean that's it. All right, see you guys.
See you. Bye. And then
something that I did not think was ever going to happen. I really did not think this was going to happen.
I just didn't. There's never. I was actually walking this morning to work, right? Like from the station to work. It's like a 5-minute walk. And it was just going through my mind. And I was like, never before has there been a more apt scenario for the phrase, hell is frozen over. Yeah. Because it's the only phrase I can use to compare to this situation.
And I want to get this out. I'll get this out, and I will come clean. I'll put this on the air so that we have this in perpetuity. You know, so that it is there. Anyone that he wants to hear me. You know, if you listen to any of the previous podcasts or ever talk to me, you know my feelings about CM Punk. Let's say his name. Finally say his name. Say his name. And just like Seth Rollins said, I've meant everything that I've said about CM Punk. I meant every single word of it. I meant it. I mean it still. I didn't care about him. I still don't care about him. I still don't care that he's there. It doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
At all. When I rewatched when he came out, I was upset. I was just like, fuck, man. I really thought they were just not gonna do it. I really thought they were gonna let it go, because I didn't think WWE needs it. I didn't think they need it. I thought WWE. I think their product was just fantastic as it is. But I put my faith in Triple H. I put my faith that there is a reason, and I will allow it. I will allow that.
So here's my. Jesus Christ! I think we have to begin with this. Here's my perspective on it. Now,
okay,
this guy is so. I don't think there's been anyone in wrestling that's been more polarizing than this guy. Like,
you can, yes, absolutely.
And he really is fans. Honestly, if you like this guy, you worship the guy, the ground he walks on. Like that Chicago crowd. Come on, man. When do you ever get pops like that? Like,
listen, I get it. And when I watched it again, and I actually listened to the crowd,
you barely hear his music playing.
Yeah, I mean, yes, of course they're gonna pop for him.
Obviously, it's in Chicago, and I understand that, of course, right? But
of course, they want to get the biggest pop they could possibly get, and that's the only way you're going to get the biggest pop that you're going to get is in Chicago.
Yeah, so
they wouldn't have gotten that pop in New York.
But here's the deal:
it would have got a pop, but it wouldn't have gotten that pop. That is the CM Punk is in Chicago pop.
Yeah,
and that's huge for all the reasons it should be.
Yeah.
I'm just not one of those guys. I'm just not one of them.
Yeah.
It's going to take so much. It is going to take so much for him to that I listened to him, and that's the thing. I watched it. I listened. I didn't turn off the channel when he came on. Actually, I did. Well, I went accidentally. Because I threw my phone down. And it hit the remote control. It actually turned off the paper, and everybody was like, "What happened?" Like they thought it went off the air right after it came out. I was like, "Oh shit! I accidentally turned the fucking channel."
So here's my thoughts. Right, so when CM Punk was in the WWE, I was a massive fan of CM Punk. I loved him, and I had his T-shirts and everything, and I thought he was great. And when he left, and everything started to come out about him, and it was all at the time very confusing. And then, it was like it came to kind of light that he was being a bit of an asshole and being like hard to work with. That's when it kind of came to me where I was like, oh shit! Like it wasn't the WWE weren't at fault here. It was he was at fault.
And that's part of, and again, that's also part of what ruined it for, like, I didn't despise CM Punk the way I did after he left. While he was there, I was as much of a fan of his as anyone who is supposed to be. Like, he got the pops he got when he got it. Like, but even towards the end with the pipe bomb stuff and all the, like, it started coming out. It just started seeming like, man, he really just sounds like a fucking jerk.
Yeah.
He really just sounds like an ass. And it certainly
this
came
is
out.
What
that
I mean by polarizing. It's just like I can't work the guy out. Now, I actually think as a person and his values, from what I can tell, he actually seems like a stand-up human being, right? In the sense that he actually does have quite good morals about him as a person, right?
Possibly.
But
possibly.
In certain ways. In other ways, I think he makes really brash decisions that he thinks are the best ones at the time. And then afterwards he goes, well, fuck, that was a stupid thing to do. Now, let's go and quickly touch on his couple of years stint in AEW. Obviously, a good 9 months of that was spent injured. But obviously, there was the whole situation with the press conference where he like lost his mind and said a lot of stuff in that press conference. And the thing is, at the time, just being completely truthful here, and if you don't like what I'm about to say, well, that's up to you. But he said a lot of things in that press conference. At the time, people were like, well, that's a bunch of bullshit. Everything he said in that press conference at the time ended up being all completely fucking true. He spoke out about AEW and the way it was being ran, and it all just turns out that he was just seeing it all. And I'll be completely honest with you, the reason he saw all of that is because he was a top tier talent in the WWE, and he knew how a wrestling company is meant to be ran. And he may not have agreed with a lot of things that happen in the WWE, but on a managerial, like running a business level, he could see that what was happening there was not how a wrestling company should be ran. And I could tell that very quickly he was like, this is a fucking joke. He said it. These guys couldn't run a Target and it's being run by children. He said that.
Yeah, but that's also the problem. That's also the one of the biggest problems with anyone who is a narcissist, who has narcissistic tendencies, which I 100% believe that Phil Brooks had them, and maybe he's changed a little bit. Maybe the frustration, maybe a lot of it came to light because of his frustration over there in AEW and seeing it, and his hot-headedness and his inability to just, given the ability to just say whatever he's thinking right at the time, was obviously a terrible move for them. It proves it in essence it's a self-fulfilled prophecy, because it proves that he was right, because they should never have allowed him to have those live microphones.
This is the problem, over there, and that's over there in AEW. Like, I'm all to giving creative freedom to a talent, but they give way too much creative freedom to a talent.
And that's why I also the AEW WCW comparison is the exact same. It's like when you give people who are so far and above you the freedom to literally just shit on you, and then they do because they're kind of right. And why? And you know what? Why not? Why not take him for everything he's worth? Why not just... The problem was it wasn't entertaining. It wasn't fun to watch. It was painful. It was uncomfortable. It was sad. It made you, and it just made me like you said, everything that he said turned out to be true. But that also makes that can make a narcissist even worse.
When he's vindicated,
When he's vindicated. Now, if they're going to put him on a leash or whatever, or if they're just going to be like, listen, man, do not say certain things. Just let us guide you. If it works, cool. If there's people that enjoy it, cool. If there's people that it pisses off and that causes more people to talk about it and more people to watch, sweet. That is awesome. I'm glad. I'm
having a guy
WWE.
like that on your roster it's risky. And then, like, he's a loose he's a loose cannon, and it's like that's either going to create some of the best fucking TV that you could possibly offer, or just shit.
Yeah.
Really.
Now, of course, it has come out, and I don't know if you've seen this either, but it has come out since then that there were multiple people knew beforehand.
Yeah.
It has come out blatantly that Seth Rollins knew, and Drew McIntyre knew, and obviously other people knew because they had to cue his music up, and they had to have his. There's a reason
that there's all the guys that won the match and lost the match are still hanging out in the ring and the cage afterwards. Like, they weren't standing around celebrating for an awkward amount of time. They all knew. Now, there's a few things I do want to touch on, and there's a few things that narratives are being spun, and it annoyed me. So I'm going to touch on them. There was this big news story being spun that Drew McIntyre was angry and stormed out of the arena.
Oh, no.
Well, in fact, no. There's been footage released of the cameraman gesturing to his arm, like waving him to hurry up because his music's about to hit. There's this other camera angle which has been filmed from like way up in the stands of filming Michael Cole, and when CM Punk's music hits, he looks like he throws something, like he throws his pen. But I tagged you in a video earlier today, and it's Michael Cole.
He's just dancing.
He gets himself when the music hits, he gets so excited, he's dancing to the music.
Yes. Corey Graves looks pissed.
Corey Graves looks pissed. But that's
Corey Graves was a statue. Corey Graves was like stone faced.
And I think that's I think here's the deal. I think that prior to this event, anyone, from what I can hear, now there was a story that came out last year that CM Punk turned up at an episode of Raw and also turned up at an episode of Impact. This is after he had been released. And he would... he was like just visiting backstage, and but this is all kind of like dirt sheety kind of stuff. But by the sounds of things, he had visited Impact and he had visited an episode of Raw, and he was trying to find and meet up with people so he could like bury the hatchet. And apparently, when he went to Raw, two people that he spoke to were Seth Rollins and Triple H.
Okay.
And the reason he was told to leave because Vince McMahon wasn't happy that he was there. Now, but it sounds like to me that's a guy who knows that he's done wrong, realizes he didn't realize what he had lost until it was gone, and that was the WWE. And it very well should, and he should be apologetic. I believe he should be apologetic for it, and maybe he is. Yeah.
And maybe he has changed, and maybe things are going to be different, and maybe everything that he said is true, and more people are happy to see him back than aren't.
Now,
and that sounds great and lovey and cool and everything for everybody. I still don't care. I mean, it doesn't necessarily excite me to see him. Like, I'm reserving all of my judgment, and I'll be as open and honest with it when we have to review things. I mean, obviously he's going to be here, and he's probably going to be here for a little while, and we'll see what happens, and we'll see what he does.
What I am here completely for, though, is
I'm here to talk about it.
What's that?
That's what we do. I'm here to talk about it. That's what we do.
But what I'm here for is what was filmed by a bunch of fans after Survivor Series went off the air.
Yeah,
and now this kind of stuff gets me going. The Seth Rollins reaction, flipping out, having Michael Cole and Graves and the referees having to hold him back, flipping him off, telling him "fuck you," like this is what I'm here for. Now, clearly,
it's all the work,
and it's so good because this is one of CM Punk's strengths is you can blur the lines between real life and storyline with him.
This is true. And with WWE now and with the way they are running stories.
Yeah. It can get really good, especially between these two. Now, I don't know if you saw there was an interview last year that they did with Seth Rollins for a 2K interview they did.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And where he called CM
he
Punk
calls
a
him
cancer.
And Philly, Phil, just stay away.
Yeah. And I'm like, clearly these guys, to me, it seems like these guys talk and they're like, let's just plant seeds now while we can, and just in case you do end up here again.
Yeah.
And he has, and now there's loads of stuff to lay into. It's
exactly.
perfect. It's
perfect.
And
that I'm here for. I'm here for the story. I'm here for the stories.
I'm here for forget all the backstage politics, forget all who these people are as people. As it goes for characters on television, I'm here for that. I'm here for that.
Yeah, I'm here for it all. I think at the end of the day, they gave a lot of people what they wanted. They gave and they made an impact. They made record number of views.
Well, that's what I was about to say. So this says everything you need to know. It had the most social media WWE views in the history of the company.
Yeah.
87 million people viewed that. That's more its social interactions than The Rock had when he had his return a few months ago. Yeah. What does that say?
It's the hottest thing right now. It's the hottest thing right now. Let's see how hot it stays. Let's see what are they going to do and where are they going to go? And I mean, he's not going to start a mid-card feud with Grayson Waller, or shit. Who knows? Who knows? I just said it, and we know that Triple H. We know that they're tapping our lines because we're now at the fifth or sixth week now that as soon as we post up a podcast, days later. I sent you that clip from the Bruce Pritchard podcast. Shout out to Bruce Pritchard once again, where he talks about. We were just talking about how good Paul Orndorff was and how underappreciated he was, and then there they are talking about how Paul Orndorff, could have been a great heel champion, and he was so underrated. Yeah, we're definitely gonna go into that Paul Orndorff episode later on down, which we might do in December because we've got some extra time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyways, that's the Survivor Series. I don't think there's anything else we need to talk about.
I think that's pretty much it.
We touched a little bit on what happened on Raw, within all of that. I just want to say there's just the state of the WWE right now, right before the road to WrestleMania. There are so many people in the company right now that you could slap a world championship onto right now. They've built all these people up so perfectly. Cody, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Randy Orton, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, Gunther. These are all people that you can slap a world title onto, and it would be believable at this point. Yeah. And there was a long period of time where there were two people at the top of the card that you could be believable champions, and everyone else was considered a mid-carder or below. We're in such a good time right now. Just I'll compare it to the Attitude Era where you had Austin, Rock, Foley, Big Show, amongst others who were Triple H, who were at the top of the card. There were so many main eventers, and we're at that time again where there's a ton of main eventers. Now CM Punk's here in the mix. It's it's just a fucking great time to be a WWE fan, to be honest with you. Not a wrestling fan, but to be a WWE fan. I think it's a really special time right now. Yeah, and if one thing that I made sure that I wanted to note, because on a positive, I can say negative things all I want about things, but one of the big positives and one of the things that I do hope happens and continues to happen is that Living Color gets a good payday from the licensing.
Yeah. They're playing in the UK on Monday, actually.
They should, and I don't know if this is true, but because I heard that they re-recorded a version of it.
They have.
And so maybe that will help, re-recording it so that they have their, full rights to it. Yeah. I really hope Living Color is getting a good payday from that, because those guys deserve, they
Well, I guarantee you there's plenty of thousands of people that went to listen to that song after that pay-per-view. So
I'm sure. I'm sure.
That's definitely going to help them for sure.
Yeah. So there it is. There it is. That is the pay-per-view.
And basically a pay-per-view to cap off what is ultimately a year of probably one of the best premium live event pay-per-view years I think the WWE have ever had. There was not one stinker in that entire 12-month run of PLEs. Every single one delivered on a top-notch level.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, and I think we already plugged the Instagram. We already talked about the Patreon. Oh no, we do have a Patreon. We have a Patreon at Punks Talk Wrestling. We have the empty TikTok. Hey, there's a Facebook group that I created. We gotta start posting
the Facebook
in there.
group.
So
yeah,
if you're on Facebook, you can find us there as well. Next week is In Your House Judgment Day from, what was that, 1998. So there's going to be a lot. Yeah, there's going to be a lot to talk about.
Yeah, plenty to talk about there.
And once we get to next week, we'll figure out what we're doing for the rest of December.
Yeah,
because there's going to be a lot.
Just going to have a bit of fun, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good month.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we end. Oh, how do we end? We just end it. We just end things.
That's kind of how we always do it, right? Just kind of end things.
Yeah. We still never figured that out. So, yeah, I think that's it.
That's it right now. That's where we end.
That's it.
Just
all
here.
Right.
Okay.
Oh boy. Yeah, man. That's a good one.
Oh, fuck yeah, it is. This is a good one every week, dude. Every week. I noticed today that the guy from Comedians of Wrestling, Marshall, remember that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he followed us on Instagram earlier.
Oh, nice. Shout out, Marsh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, good to hear it. Good to hear you. And good to see you. Good to see you following along.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's weird? I found for the first time on one of our posts. I don't know if you ever get this, but I saw one of the posts you just posted today. It had a comment. It had one comment, but when I went to click on it, there was no comment.
Oh yeah, well yeah, you're right. No, that's the first time I did see it. I can't remember what it said. Let me see if
it hidden. Was it hidden because there might have been a word? Like I don't know if I have like certain keywords hidden.
Well, no, it's weird because it's here. I can see it, but if I try and like it, it won't let me. It's really weird. Anyway,
what is the comment? Because I've seen this happen on other posts.
So
too.
It's like I did a picture of CM Punk and I put "What's your favorite wrestling return?" and then I said what this week's episode's about. And then the comment is from someone called 518 Hophead, and the comment says, "Not this sellout. That's for damn sure." We're doing all right, man. Like we're actually we've got quite a few follows this week, and you know, if I see a slight few more people watching or listening along, like not watching, sorry, but listening along every week, then I'm happy, you know.
Yeah, and I do want to shout out our followers, of course, because this is what we are characters of sorts. So, you know, there are definitely times where in what little promotion we do right now, we might come off. Not you, but I can come off as an ass very easily. I'm kind of a heel. I'm kind of heel in comment sections, but I always kind of I try to turn it around at the end. I try to turn it around and make it known.
You always turn it into a cheap plug for the podcast.
I turn it into a cheap plug.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can, you know, if I go a little too far sometimes, like, you know, maybe I go a little too far, hey, that's on me. That's on me. You know, what can I say? I gotta be me. Maybe maybe the reason I hate CM Punk so much, but you know, thinking about this, I'll just go into this a little. Let's get a little serious for a minute.
Okay.
When I watched CM Punk's promo at the end of Raw,
yeah,
and he looks straight in the camera,
Yeah.
And it's like, motherfucker, he's looking right at me. He's looking right into my soul, and he's fucking with me because he knows. Because I'll give you this. I've said, and I say it later, and we talk about it later. I've said disparaging things about CM Punk.
Even last week.
Even last week. Even up to last week. And I meant every word of it.
Yeah.
I did. I mean everything I say when I say it. I may not mean it later. I may apologize for things. I may come on, I may get a little heated at times. I mean, that's what this is about. This is,
Here's the deal. You said he looked straight in the camera and he said, "I'm home," right?
Yeah.
And
like,
the son of a bitch, yeah. I believed him.
I do. It's hard not to believe him. I still don't like him. Don't like him. He hasn't won me. He hasn't won me back.
I'm like,
in any way.
He says like Triple H said it in the post conference. People can change. I'm like, I guess people can. People can change, and he's right. It's like this is a different company now. There's different people in charge, and CM Punk's a different person. And like, I actually do believe that like, he can be easy enough to work with. I actually just believe that in AEW. They poke the bear too much.
Yeah, and I hope it's all true. I hope it is true. I would love nothing more for it to be a really good time and be beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, same.
I want what's best for business. I want what's best for the performers, and I want and I want to enjoy wrestling. And I can get like I said, I can get heated about things, and I don't have to like everybody. I don't have to like them. I'm not gonna be one of those guys who are like, oh well, if he returns, I'm gonna quit watching wrestling.
That's like saying I'm gonna quit doing something because Larry works at the local Starbucks again.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna stop doing something because a guy works somewhere again.
The bottom line is it's doing exactly what they wanted, and it's getting everybody to talk about it. We're talking
just
about it.
Gained the attention of everybody.
We can't not talk about it. But here's the point I want to make, and I found this out. And and I call attention to like narcissistic tendencies and things like that. I've dealt with a lot of I've dealt with in past relationships and past friendships and other people. I have a high level of instantly get turned when I know someone, when I see those types of tendencies. That really turns me off for a number of reasons. One of which is because I've seen those types of tendencies in myself in the past. I have certainly been. Now, there are probably a lot of people that would never think that and may not know everything there is about me, but I know it about myself, whether I hid it well or not, or whether I allowed people to know that or not. I know that I've, in the past, and this may have been very long in the past, way in the past, I know that I have been an asshole. Yeah. I've been a prick in the way that he was a prick. And not necessarily intentionally, just because I didn't know any better, and because I didn't have people guiding me in that way, or because I was hanging around with other narcissists and other assholes, and it was turning me into an asshole.
Yeah.
That literally happens. So when I see people like that, sometimes one of the real reasons why it irritates me was this is true. This is me. This is Ralph being Ralph, not R.W. Hellborn. It irritates me when I see that because it reminds me of when I was an asshole.
Right.
When I did shitty things to people that didn't deserve it, just because I didn't care about how I came off to other people, because I didn't care about anything else. And so that's really the deep-rooted part. It's really just me. That so maybe what I need to do is maybe I need to embrace this in the way that others have. Allow myself to realize that this is a thing that I've had to work on, and I feel like I've become a better version of myself over the years. I wouldn't be openly talking about it like this right now if I didn't feel comfortable enough to be able to say that.
Yeah.
So I need to give him the benefit of the doubt. I need to give him some benefit that maybe everything he's saying is true, and maybe the things that other people but still have to wait and see.
So wait and see, and it's but I felt, he said when he was in AEW, he said a lot of things. He said things like, the grass isn't always greener, like referring to the WWE. He said the grass isn't greener in the WWE. He said, things like, get your tickets to a buy one get one free extravaganza, things like that. And I bet obviously while he was there, he never thought that. No one ever thought this would happen. He's the one guy that we all kind of reserved the right of, like, he will never come back. And
and so I think, and of course, some of it might have very well been, I'm going to vent, and I'm going to say things that are explosive because I know it'll
listening,
because he knows it'll get the reaction, and it did. It certainly did. But now he's got to eat all that, Now he's got to. And
I'm sure with the storyline with Seth, which is going to happen, a lot of these comments are probably going to get brought up.
Of course they are, and
it's going to be interesting seeing him defend that.
And you know what? And I'm here to see it. I'm here to see how it goes down, and we're here to talk about it.
That's right.
We're gonna talk about it, and I'm gonna be like I've always said. I'll only say the truth for me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I've said it. I said it even in previous podcasts when we were like, well, what if he returns? I'm like, well, then I might change my mind.
Yeah.
I have the ability to change my mind when presented.
You're a human being with feelings.
When presented with new information, and when given the opportunity to open up and allow someone the opportunity to prove that they've changed.
That's right.
Let's see it.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. The only thing that it could be really good, or it could all backfire and become insane. But you know, it's professional wrestling, and it's always insane. And
I think it's at this point now. If this goes tits up, that's not. Is that a phrase in America?
I think yes. It's sort of the same with ass over tea kettle.
Just if things just fuck up, basically.
Yeah.
But if things go tits up with this, like, this is his last shot, and I think if this goes wrong and it goes the way that AEW went, he will essentially be blackballed from professional wrestling.
Right. I don't see there any coming back.
He has to make this work.
If he truly burns, if he burns the bridge again, then
there will be no bridge left to fix.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, we're gonna talk about everything else that happened before all this.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I think we already said let's get into it, but let's get into it again. Let's
actually get into it now. Fucking hell.
Yeah, holy shit. This one actually was a little bit. We got a little extra in that.
Get extra meat on the bone there.
Yeah, this is all meat. This is all meaty. So, yeah, man, I think I'm glad we started a little early, so you can wrap this up, and because it's 10. It's 10.
It's 10:15. Yeah, I'm going to stop recording now.